Welcome everyone to our ITGL International Teaching and Global Leadership webinar here this morning in the United States on the East Coast, but for many of you in many different time zones, good evening. Today we are going to focus our conversation on the Spring 2027 cohort of ITGL. So welcome. We're so glad that you are here and you're a part of our webinar. My name is Serena Stewart. I'm Associate Director of Admissions and happy to have you as a part of our conversation today. So before we get started and talk a little bit more about the ITGL program, I first want to talk a little bit about the School of Education. So we're one of 10 academic divisions in the bigger space of Johns Hopkins University. Here at the School of Education, our total enrollment is about 1,000 students, a little over 1,000 students. We have over 100 faculty members, and we award about 500 degrees annually. We're very proud to have over 25,000 alumni here in the School of Education. Demographically, we have students that hail from over 34 countries, and 30% of our student population make up international students. We have been highly ranked not only by US News and World Report as one of the best education schools in the United States, but globally we have high rankings as well. You'll see here some of our other rankings from US News and World Report for their global and national universities, as well as Times Higher Education's university rankings and QS World University rankings. As you can see, Johns Hopkins ranks really highly in the top 20 or higher for many of these institutions because of the absolute world-class faculty and the type of curriculum and education you get from the Johns Hopkins University. So at this time, I'm going to pass it off to Dr. Jennifer Adams so she can introduce herself and tell you a little bit more about the program.
Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm so happy that you had a chance to join us today to learn more about life at the School of Education at Johns Hopkins University, and then also specifically about ITGL and the opportunity to enroll for spring 2027. I'm Jennifer Adams, and I'm an associate professor at the School of Education who has worked in the field of global and international education for decades now. I also have some work experience as a primary school teacher in Hong Kong and a school director and TEFL teacher in Taiwan, and also do research in other countries around the world, including Indonesia, Vietnam, China, and you can see here some of the other things that I've been actually working on. I'm the director of ITGL. I've been here at Hopkins for 3 years now after working in global and international education programs at other universities. And I'm really excited about the really unique nature of what we're doing in ITGL and want to share with you a little bit about some of the key advantages, I think, to the ITGL program and more broadly about just our mission to prepare future-ready leaders who can work using their educational knowledge in many different spaces, like whether it's business, whether it's government, whether it's entrepreneurship, whether it's technology, whether it's leading schools or classrooms. To really improve education for people around the world. And so here are some key characteristics of the spring 2027 cohort, which we're focusing our discussion on today. Many of you may be aware that we do also have a fall admissions cohort, and we're excited to be welcoming those students on campus in Baltimore in just a few weeks. But we already are thinking about the group of students that will be joining us in January. So these are key features of the spring 2027 cohort. So one of those key features being that it actually starts in January rather than starting in August. It is a 33 credit for most students or 35 credit master's program for TEFL students. And that is the same curriculum that the students who enter in the fall experience, right? So ITGL, the program, the master's degree, is the same whether you start in fall or spring. You have core courses in leadership, the learning sciences, education, really learning about educational expertise and how you can apply it to different focus areas. A couple of the big differentiators, again, are when you start the program. So for spring cohort, that would be in January. And then also how long you're with us on campus. So the spring program is a 4 semester program at Johns Hopkins University. So it begins in spring 27. Students are also with us in summer 27 and fall 27, and then spring 2028. So it's a 4 semester program rather than a spring semester program. This allows students also to participate in commencement ceremonies the same semester that they finish. It also allows students the opportunity to apply for CPT or a 20-hour internship during their final semester because of the length of the program. Like other ITGL students, they complete a final portfolio presentation, which is what we do in lieu of an honors thesis in ITGL, and students will be presenting those portfolios. And also, students for the spring cohort are have a focus area, but for spring, we only offer 3 of our focus areas. And I would say that these tend to be our most popular focus areas right now. So that would be teaching English as a foreign language, entrepreneurship and education, and our new that we're just launching in a couple weeks, AI and learning innovation focus area, which has really generated a lot of interest. And then one of the other things that we sort of want to make sure that people are aware of for spring is that we do have Global Leadership Scholar Awards that we will be offering to some spring students based on merit. And for the first time, there's just more of these awards, and want to make sure that that's on your radar for spring as well. So there are lots of things that I can talk about related to ITGL, but given the time frame of the webinar, and then also wanting to make sure that there's time for you to ask questions that you are interested in, I really wanted to focus on 5 of the things that I really think are important aspects of the ITGL program. And then I also wanted to just emphasize, since we're talking primarily about spring, a couple of spring cohort, what I'm going to call bonuses that are related to joining us during January. So I'm going to go through each of these here. So the first one would be the experiential forward-thinking curriculum. And so I think on my next slide, I have a little more information about that advantage. So one of the things that I really, that I feel like having worked in other settings is that one of the things that we do in ITGL is the curriculum itself is, I would say, very applied. And another way to think about that is sort of experiential, hands-on, practical, interactive student learning. So you can see here that our students are not passively sitting, hearing us talk to them as a faculty member. Of course, I share my expertise with all of my students, but we have relatively small class sizes in ITGL, so students have really close access to faculty. Faculty and students get to know each other very well, and they also get to know their classmates really well. We really emphasize collaborative and project-based learning, and also try to provide ways for students to demonstrate what they learn in a multitude of ways to reflect what's happening in the workforce right now. So for example, yes, you might write a few papers or traditional research papers when you're in ITGL, but more often than not, I think in the workforce today, people are presenting their knowledge and what they know in different ways. So we really try to reflect this work in our curriculum in ITGL. So you may present what you've learned either in a group project. You might develop a business plan because you've been designing an entrepreneurial venture with team members. You might actually present a podcast, for example, as a way to help people consume the knowledge. So we really assess students through multiple formats, and part of that is related to the career ready aspect, the career ready program learning outcomes that we have in ITGL. And here's a couple of this is example of our sort of master program learning outcomes here, where you can see that in all ITGL students, we're really assessing you over the semester to make sure you're developing globally oriented leadership skills, global competencies that would include increased intercultural understanding and perspective taking, cross-cultural collaboration. Also consistent with everything that we do at Johns Hopkins is the capacity to use research evidence for any type of decision making that you're doing. So it might be a decision that you're making in your ed tech company. It might be a decision that a teacher is making in a classroom or a school leader is making. But the idea is that all of our students are able to use research evidence to make these decisions. 21st century communication skills. How do we effectively communicate what we know about education and use diverse modalities to do so? Currently, AI is sweeping much of education, and so all of our students develop AI and technology competencies before they leave ITGL. And then, of course, specialized expertise in the chosen focus area. And you chose to choose this focus area when you apply. Here's an overview of the actual course sequence for ITGL when we think about what this actually looks like. So you can see the course sequence across spring, summer, fall, and spring semester. The courses that are in blue are core courses that really reflect this sort of big ideas that we want all ITGL students to know before they leave. And that you'll use these ideas regardless of what focus area you're in. The yellow actually represent the focus area curricular courses. You take one almost every semester except for your last semester. Green would be the extended learning, which is I will talk about in a moment, but it's really an internship experience that you're doing throughout your time in ITGL. And then you can see in your final semester that you will be taking a seminar in teacher leadership, which really is a seminar that helps you put together your global impact portfolio and also does a lot of career preparation in terms of like resumes and practicing interviews so we can position you to hit the job market really strong when you finish. And here are examples of the focus area courses for each of the focus areas offered in spring. So entrepreneurship and education, you can see courses related to new ventures, teaching English as a foreign language. You can also see here there's 2 additional 1-credit courses, which is why the Teaching English as a Foreign Language program is a 35-credit course. And that's to get it closer to some of the coursework students do in TEFL certificates. And then also we can see the courses for the AI and learning innovation focus area. So this gets me to my second of my 5 ITGL advantages that I wanted to make sure that you guys are familiar with when you leave. And this would be like our outstanding faculty. So these here on the slide, you can see me over here on the left, but also 4 of my colleagues that are the core ITGL faculty. So students in ITGL do take courses with other faculty, other School of Education faculty, and also faculty that are coming to work with us from the business sector. So we have people coming in teaching courses who maybe have their own ed tech startup, for example, and they might teach a course for us. On AI and education, for example. But the faculty you see here are the core ITGL faculty. They serve as focus area advisors for the different focus areas in ITGL. You can see here that I usually advise the applied research and early childhood students, and you can see here that Ms. Guglieltello advises creativity and innovation, that Dr. Shen actually advises teaching English as a foreign language. Dr. Trexler does AI and learning innovation, as well as some entrepreneurship students, and he's also our extended learning coordinator. And then also Dr. Anderson is a faculty advisor for entrepreneurship. I would say the faculty have really different strengths and like diverse interests. Dr. Sun, for example, has a MINT lab, which is a research lab that many of our students end up choosing to work in her lab to get experience doing multilingual learning, research experience. I would say Dr. Anderson is a very publicly facing scholar. She does a lot of work in the news, in the media, and really works with students thinking about how can they communicate their ideas to the outside world, for example. One of the things I think that really unites the faculty is just how dedicated they are to our students. And so they're very approachable. And I think that's in the classroom, but also outside of the classroom in terms of wanting to support students and make sure that ITGL students really are getting everything that they need to be successful, not only in their academic work, but successful when they leave us at Hopkins as well. And so here's an example of just some of the other faculty throughout the School of Education that have been teaching ITGL students in their courses, right? So that might be in an ITGL course. We've had a few students over the past few years who have taken courses, for example, in the EDD program or in the PhD program. And so really an opportunity to work with different types of faculty throughout the school. Three, extended learning. So extended learning, as I just mentioned, that Dr. Trexler is our coordinator for extended learning. Extended learning is a really, I think, important part of ITGL and also a really unique aspect of what we're doing. So all students participate in extended learning during their fall and spring semesters. Um, and then for students in spring cohort, they have an opportunity in their final spring semester to either do a third extended learning experience or to apply for CPT and do a bigger internship. But extended learning really is similar to a small internship. Students participate in this placement for about 4 to 6 hours a week. Intentionally, ITGL does not hold classes on Fridays. We keep Fridays open for students to be placed and do work in their extended learning experience, although some students may do it at a different time. Students really use this to gain experience, right? Which is really important, I think, right now, getting your foot in the door when you're trying to find a new job, demonstrating that you have actual experience in a workplace, applying what you've learned in your classes in a real work environment, and also developing professionalized skills and behaviors and social skills so you can also demonstrate that you're really work ready and career ready because you've learned sort of new cutting edge skills that people have in the workforce. So many of our students experience their extended learning in a school environment. Like we have students placed all over the city of Baltimore doing extended learning in primary schools and high schools. But we also place students in many other types of educational organizations. So these might be research centers, such as the research centers at Johns Hopkins that we have. It might be business. We've had several students working at like Moose Track or at Ithaca Toys, like a toy company, using their skills. Students might be at a nonprofit organization, such as like Refugee Youth Project, for example. So really diverse experiences in extended learning. And we help you actually get these placements. So we have several partnerships throughout the Baltimore region. So we're able to actually open up these extended learning experiences and help you actually get placed. You don't need to find these yourself like you do at many other types of programs. And I think my next slide, I've got a few examples of where our students are. Some of our students were last semester. So you can see here schools throughout the Baltimore area. You can see research centers at the School of Education, such as the Center for Research and Reform for Education and the Center for Technology and Education. But you can also see here that we have people at research centers throughout the university. So the Center for Bioengineering, Innovation and Design, as well as the School of Public Health, for example. Nonprofits like that I mentioned, business ventures, and also different types of technology companies. So really diverse extended learning experiences. And here's just a few photos of our students sort of in action in schools or giving presentations at a business at a company or we need to be a little careful about showing kids in these pictures. And so they're limited to our students, but just to give you an example of what it might look like. Experience outside of the classroom. And so I think this is one of the other things that's really important for you to think about when you're picking a graduate program. And I also think I'll mention it as one of the bonuses, I think, for doing the 4 semester program or the spring cohort of ITGL is that you have more time to really participate in all the exciting things that are happening outside of the classroom. Of course, we're trying to prepare you for your future and for you to meet your goals, and academic preparation is an important part of that. But also, our students are learning so many things, but some of which we organize at the School of Ed and some things that are happening beyond in the JHU environment. So, for example, ITGL is offering its 3rd year of the ITGL Hackathon, and that's something that our students do in collaboration with the PAVA Center and other parts of the university. We are been taking students to both regional and national conferences. For example, this fall, we'll be going to a conference in New York City, and then in the spring, there's a national version of the same conference. Workplace visits with organizations that where our students might be actually be so might eventually work, or they could learn about a career that they didn't really know about prior. We have expert speakers coming to campus to interview and interact with our ITGL students as well. For example, you can see one of the over on the bottom right hand corner, this is someone who came for the Heidemann lecture who talked about her own startup company and then actually selling her company. And to the left of that picture, you can see ITGL students who were able to have a small group meeting with our speaker and ask all these questions about what went wrong when you were trying to develop your business and really get that inside information. We have language and lunch groups, and then also just the things that are happening around the university, from talks that are happening at the School of Public Health to conferences that might be happening at the Data Science and AI Institute to orchestra performances that are happening on campus. There's just really a rich outside of the classroom environment. Here are a few slides from the JHU ITGL Hackathon. You can see here our students come together on a Saturday and really work together with people at the Whiting School of Engineering and entrepreneurs and community partners to really problem solve and think about innovation and teamwork and how they can actually solve an educational problem together. And sometimes these actually lead to like real ventures that they may actually launch later through the PAVA Center, which I think might be my next slide here. So you can see the JHU PAVA Center for Entrepreneurship. This is actually located very close to the School of Education, and our students really take advantage of the programs that they have there for budding entrepreneurs. And you can see here that there are different awards, competitions, funding opportunities that students from our entrepreneurship classes and also from things like the hackathon might get a head start on and then approach the PAVA Center to follow through with some of that work. I also just wanted to highlight this center as well, since it's relatively new at Hopkins, is the JHU Data Science and AI Institute. The AI Institute actually is sponsoring part of the JHU ITGL Hackathon this year. I actually had a research project this past summer that was funded by the DSAI Institute, where I had ITGL students working as RAs for me on this project. And so this Data Science and AI Institute really is something that is for the campus, and it's connected to all these different schools that Serena talked about in the beginning. So students who are coming to the School of Education in the AI and learning innovation focus area, but also in other focus areas, really have an opportunity to think about the promise of AI and how it actually may work in or to improve, or what the risks might be, like how to think about this in the area you're interested in by actually doing work and learning from the Data Science and AI Institute. It's really open for everybody. And these are just some pictures from some of the conferences that I was mentioning here. You can see students presenting at national conferences, such as the American Educational Research Association Conference and the Comparative and International Education Society Conference. Those both took place in California. But you can also see the opportunities for students to participate in smaller conferences actually at the School of Education, such as the Ideas Conference. And then also, we often take students in the spring semester to a conference in Washington, D.C., and each year we've had a few more students actually presenting their own work at that conference. And finally, I think one of the things that really sets ITGL apart is the really diverse career results that we have for our alumni. Our alumni are doing so many interesting things. And I think we learn about these things by the close relationships that faculty and students have. Faculty are often updating us students are updating their faculty advisors and faculty members about what they're doing. But also, most falls I spend part of October or December internationally doing work recruiting students, but also visiting with ITGL alumni and looking at their places of work, the schools that they've started, or attending conferences that the alumni groups have started up. and they're doing really incredible things. So you can see here that their jobs range from working in startups or founding their own early childhood centers. Maybe they've actually founded their own schools, lots of leadership potential, and we really focus on leadership at ITGL. We have students working in development at organizations like UNICEF or working as research specialists, also working in publishing or in media, which is a growing space, I think, in education. Certainly in East Asia and Southeast Asia, we have students or graduates who are working in higher education. As higher education expands, we have more and more students working at universities, working in curriculum and in assessment, and also university leadership. You can also see working, but also other types of careers from marketing to finance to logistics, really taking the, I'd say, comprehensive skills that you're learning in ITGL and applying them in other spaces. And that, I would say that's also true when we think about new ventures and ed tech companies, for example, or different types of company founders, that students are really using the skills that they've learned in ITGL and also their professional experience that they've gathered through extended learning to sort of branch out and work in a bunch of different spaces. And then, of course, we also every year have students who want to move on to doctoral programs. And I would say one of the things that we do in ITGL really well is prepare students for rigorous research doctoral programs. And so you can prepare for that either through the applied research focus area, which some students choose to do, but you can also prepare for that by developing research experiences while you are at Johns Hopkins. So for example, if you came in the spring semester, maybe you're a TEFL focus area person, you could actually join Dr. Shen's lab, get research experience. Maybe you would do research-oriented extended learning to really develop hands-on skills that would help you as you applied to a doctoral program. So there, sort of wrap those up, those sort of top 5 advantages that I think are that really set the ITGL program apart. But then also just wanted to sort of mention what I consider these spring bonuses. And so one is just more time at JHU, the 4-semester program compared with the 3-semester program. And I think that plays out in a lot of different ways, but I do think that one of the ways that that plays out is by giving you sort of more time to, by taking a little bit of a less rigorous course load. You're taking 9 credits a semester rather than 13 and spreading that over time. It often does give you, I think, a little bit more time to develop your ideas, to sort of think about what you're learning in your classes, and then find ways to develop those interests beyond your classes. It allows you more time to develop relationships with faculty. Like maybe you meet somebody in the first spring that you get here, so next spring, and then maybe next academic year, you're still here. And so you have an opportunity to maybe join that faculty's like research project, or that faculty member can introduce you to someone that they know because they know you really well. I think the other thing is that just from a cross-cultural perspective, the additional time in the US provides you more time just to experience an international culture. So you're able to travel more, see more, do more in the 4-semester program. So really simple sort of spring cohort bonus. I think aligned with that, the less intensive academic schedule, in addition to like allowing you more time with faculty and to get to know your own interests, just does give you more time to participate in extracurricular activities, research experiences, and other types of practical experiences. So it's not unusual for some of our spring students to participate in, like, for example, sports teams on campus. We've had students join badminton who've been on the cheering squad at JHU. We've also had students volunteer in addition to their extended learning. Maybe they've volunteered in like the student wellness center, that they find other ways to develop skills and interests because they just have more time to do so with the less intensive course load. And then I think one of the other things that students really like about spring cohort is just the larger network. And so spring cohort students take classes, make friends, develop a network with several ITGL cohorts. So, of course, you'll have your spring 2027 cohort when you come, like your main sort of group of people that will be here at the same amount of time as you. But when you come this spring, the fall 2026 cohort will be here and you'll be taking classes with them during the spring and the summer. So you'll have the fall 26 cohort and yourselves. But then when you come back next fall and spring, fall 27 cohort will be here. And so the people that are in the spring cohort really know everyone. So those of you that are interested in like building your networks, which all ITGL students do, and all ITGL students do have a network. We have a global network of over 1,000 alumni around the world in China, Indonesia, Japan, Vietnam, South Korea, Saudi Arabia, Kazakhstan. This year we have students coming from Brazil and from Pakistan. The global network is growing, but I do think one of the fun advantages of being part of Spring Cohort is you really get to do ITGL with more ITGL students. And I think just to wrap up before I turn this over to Serena, who's going to tell you more about how to apply, is really just sort of wrapping this up that ITGL provides, a master's degree from a top-ranked research university in the States. We have these innovative focus areas that we really have carefully aligned with market demand and thought about career prospects for students. The really experiential focus of ITGL, our unique extended learning program, dedicated, experienced, world-renowned faculty. I haven't even mentioned the newly renovated School of Education building on Homewood campus that we're all enjoying. As I mentioned, a really engaged global network of ITGL and also Johns Hopkins University alumni. Our focus on successful career preparation and PhD program admission, and then also really these learning and also extracurricular experiences outside of the classroom that really make ITGL special. So I know that Serena is going to talk now about admissions, but I also just want to say that if any of you have questions about ITGL, I'm always happy to talk with prospective students. So you should feel free to reach out to me via email if you'd like to learn more.
Awesome. Thanks, Jennifer. So switching gears here, the first thing that we'll talk about in regards to applying to the ITGL program is what makes a complete ITGL application. So first and foremost, you need to fill out and submit your online application form. There is an $80 application fee to submit your application. And then for supporting documents, in order to submit that application, we need a resume or a CV and your essay. The essay prompt you can find on our website. It goes into detail how exactly you should answer our essay question, and then your resume highlighting your academic and research skills. And then once you submit your application, you can start to focus on your additional materials. You'll need 2 letters of recommendation. We do prefer that one of those letters of recommendation comes from a professor that you've worked with recently. That most likely is someone from your undergraduate degree. Some of our students are coming to us for their second master's degree, so it might be something or someone from your first master's degree if that's you. So someone who knows you academically, and then a professional letter of recommendation. That could be someone who worked with you at an internship or something like that. You can certainly use 2 academic letters of recommendation as well if that is what you would like to do. And then when you submit your application, you will have to select your focus area. So make sure that you do that. For the spring cohort, Dr. Adams did mention that we have the TEFL focus area, the AI and education focus area, and the entrepreneurship focus area. And then you'll need to submit your official transcripts as well. If you completed your education in the United States, then your official transcript from your university is fine. If you completed your education abroad, then you'll need to submit a course-by-course evaluation of those transcripts as your official documentation to fulfill the official transcript requirements. In addition to the course-by-course evaluation, our students who are international students need to submit an English language proficiency exam. We or we accept three exams: the IELTS, the TOEFL, and the Duolingo. The minimum band scores are here. The TOEFL exam has both the previous minimum score and the current band score, as their scoring system has recently changed. So whether you took your TOEFL before or after this past January, it doesn't matter. You will get both scores on your score report. So that's what we need as far as English language degree requirements. There are some waiver that you can qualify for the English language. So if you have any questions about a TOEFL waiver, like if you've completed your undergraduate degree in the United States, then you don't have to submit an English language proficiency exam. So you can certainly reach out to myself or look on our website at education.jhu.edu/international, and that will give you all of the TOEFL waiver requirements. So that's all there for you on our website. So right now you can start your application to the spring 2027 cohort. Applications are currently open and available. Some upcoming deadlines as we move through our admissions timeline here. Most of this is going to happen in the fall semester as you prepare to come to JHU in January. The first deadline is our scholarship priority deadline of January 30th. So you would need to submit your admissions application as well as the scholarship application before September 30th. And then the application deadline for all ITGL spring cohort applications is November 2nd. So if you miss that priority deadline, that's okay. You have until November 2nd to submit your application. And then all of the supporting materials need to be in and received by that application deadline. And then if you receive an offer of admission after accepting your offer, within 2 weeks, you'll in your offer letter have your specific date, but 2 weeks after you're accepting your or after you receive your offer, you'll have your first non-refundable enrollment deposit due. And then the second portion of your non-refundable enrollment deposit is due by December 15th. So those are just the important dates as you're moving through the admissions process. And then there are additional pre-arrival steps that we have great staff here in the School of Education who can help you as you are working on your I-20 and visa process. If you have any questions about that, we have staff in the School of Education as well as in Johns Hopkins University in our Office of International Student Support that can help you with all of those steps as well. And then here's the tuition for our ITGL program. You'll see all focus areas except for TEFL, and then the TEFL focus area. The TEFL focus area has 2 additional credits. That's why the tuition is different, because the credit load is higher. We went over that when we did the breakdown of the focus area courses. And then you'll see your non-refundable enrollment deposit is due in 2 portions. That first portion of the $3,000 deposit is what's due 2 weeks after receiving your offer. And then that final deposit deadline of December 15th is the second portion of your enrollment deposit. As Dr. Adams mentioned earlier, we do have Global Leader Scholar Awards available for our spring 2027 cohort. These are merit-based scholarships for our ITGL students. For those exceptional ITGL students in academics, we have some merit awards available. So you'll want to make sure you apply by that priority deadline to get first consideration for the Global Leader Scholarship Award. And then we do recommend that you research and look into external scholarships as well. We have several ITGL students who have national government programs that come to us with scholarships from their government. So that's certainly a pathway that you can use to pay for your degree. If you're a US citizen, about 82% of SOE students do borrow graduate student loans, so you'll want to make sure you submit your FAFSA. The completion of your FAFSA form is required each year for scholarship consideration, and all students who are US citizens or permanent residents are encouraged to complete their FAFSA at the same time as their admissions application. So with that information, we're going to open it up to Q&A. So this is your opportunity to ask any questions that you have, whether that be about the admissions process or the ITGL program. Dr. Adams and I will be answering any of the questions in our Q&A. So please take the opportunity now to use the Q&A function or the chat function to type your questions. We have about 15 minutes or so available for your questions. And then while you're putting your questions in the chat, I want to also just have our contact information available to you here. So you'll see my contact information as well as Ms. Carol Herman. She works with the ITGL program. And Dr. Adams, if you want to shout out your travel, you can certainly do that.
Yes. So, I mean, my October plans are not totally finalized yet, but I will be traveling internationally in October. So, we will share information about that, like I think in the application pipeline, emails when my schedule is nailed down. But I definitely will be in China and in Hong Kong in December. So, that's after the application deadline, but it's also an opportunity to meet with me or ask other questions about ITGL, and I will get the October information out as soon as I have it. But I can say that one of the things I enjoy about some of the international work that I'm doing, working with governments to find pathways for students and meeting with alumni, are those rare moments where I get to meet prospective ITGL students, like in a coffee shop or a hotel lobby, and then I see their application later after they've applied, and I'm able to think, oh, I met them, back, with their dad in a coffee shop in Hanoi, so long ago. So please reach out if you'd like to get together with me when I travel.
I'm going to go ahead and allow you to talk, so you can go ahead and ask your questions.
Yeah,
Hi,
hello.
HP. Hi.
Hi, good afternoon. Here is afternoon. Um,
Yes.
I'm actually residing in Turkey.
Oh, hi.
Yes, hi. My name is Ali Mohammed. I had my undergrad in Ghana. At the moment, I'm in Turkey. I went to two different universities, and I'm able to receive my official transcript from only one university. So if I'm not able to get that of the other university, what happens to my application? Because I'm
So,
trying to be able to reach the university authorities so that they can, send the transcripts. But up to now, I've not been able to get someone to do that for me. But one of the university, I had someone to do it for me. So what
so
happens
for
if
your
I,
documents, you'll want to work with whatever agency is doing your evaluation, whether that's World Education Services or the evaluation company, whichever company you choose that we accept here. And they sometimes are able to help you get in contact with your universities to get your documentation to them. And then once they have your official documents, they do the evaluation and send us the evaluation. So you'll want to work with the agencies to try and do that because, like I said, sometimes they can help you do that and help you to reach your universities.
so meaning when I send them the scanned copies I have here, they can work things out with my universities. Is that right?
So you'll send those documents, you'll send the documents that you have, and your universities will send documents to the evaluation company, and then they'll look at the documents, verify their validity, do the evaluation, and send us the evaluation for the application. That process does take time. So the sooner that you start that process, especially if you're having any difficulties getting your transcripts, the better.
Okay, thanks so much.
You're very welcome.
And also, HP, like if you end up having any trouble as you're doing this, definitely reach out with an email to give us maybe like more specifics about the situation in writing, and we'll do whatever we can to help if when possible. But I think as Serena was just mentioning, organizations like World Education Service, like this is what they do all day long.
Yeah,
And so they actually have good ways of getting in touch with universities.
certainly.
But we're super glad that you joined us. And I was actually in Turkey last November. That was one of my stops. I don't think I'm going to hit that one this year, but I really enjoyed being there when I was there last November. So.
So if you have any additional questions and you want to follow up via email, I'm happy to answer your questions. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us and learn a little bit more about the ITGL Spring 27 cohort. We will be having additional webinars this fall if you are interested in learning a little bit more about extended learning or hearing from ITGL alumni. We'll have other opportunities for you to engage with us as we move through the fall semester. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for joining us.